And I really don't know why y'all want to be slaves, because it's not like y'all gonna guilt these people into doing nothing for you. It's not like they're gonna give you anything. They're gonna feel sorry for you. I really don't know what your end game is, because you're not gonna get anything out of it. So I don't get it. It's really a failed strategy. Whatever you're trying to get out of this whole thing about wanting to be a slave, I don't know what you think you'll get out of it, because you ain't gonna get it. You're not gonna get it. So you might want to just wake up one day and say, you know what? Forget about trying to be a slave. I think today I want to be a man. And rise up and come join the Alpha. Everything I'm about to say, you already know it to be true. You are a slave. You are a slave to money, to social economics, to status, to politics, to ideology. You have sold your soul to have a place in a world order that you should naturally oppose. Over the last few decades, a lot of blacks have been digging up our proper heritage here in the Americas before the Europeans arrived. And the more we dig, the more the narratives, the more the paradigms, the more everything shifts against us. Now, I want you to think about what I'm about to say, because this is really unheard of. If you think it's insane that you can get more time for selling narcotics than you can for deleting somebody, for taking a life, well, how about this one? Between March of 1969 and April of 1970, count them, 5, Apollo 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, 5 manned missions were supposedly successfully launched to the moon. Of that 5, 2 of them supposedly landed successfully on the moon surface and relaunched back to Earth. The strange thing is that my birth, I was literally born right after that happened. And despite Katrina decimating New Orleans, I still have photos and old videos and stuff that survived. Just depends on whose house it was, in when the storm hit. Some of the stuff from back then, from my childhood, still survived. But in that same period of time, without no natural disasters, without nothing happening, somehow, some way, NASA, the greatest organization in human history, NASA lost all of the original footage of the moon landings. You heard me right. They say they can't find it. It's lost. But yet at the same time, we talk about that's 55 years ago, right? Like I said, I was born literally right after that. At the same time, these audio recordings were supposedly discovered from ex-slaves. Audio recordings. Now they find 10 million so names of everything, right? This is madness, people. This is madness. So you want us to believe that more than 100, almost 160 years later, now suddenly you got names before you never had names. Now suddenly you got audio tapes. Where these audio tapes was at all my life, all my grandmother's life, all my mama's life. Suddenly now you got audio tapes of former slaves, but you don't have a single original recording, original documentation, original footage of the moon landings. Any nigga that believes these people have authentic audio recordings of ex-slaves is stupid. You a fool. They are lying to you. But why would they lie about something? Because they know the psychological effects of this narrative on you. This is psychological warfare. Nothing more, nothing less. They understand this. They don't care that the whole thing is a lie. They are looking at what it does to your mind. It gives you an inferiority complex. Depends on how you use that, because some people use superiority complex as a negative, the same way. I'm gonna use it properly, right? The inferiority complex is when you have a complex about feeling inferior to other people, right? And at the same time, it gives them a superiority complex where they feel superior to you. This is why they do it, because they understand the psychological effects of this narrative, of this paradigm. They don't care that it's a lie. But I want you to think about, how is it even possible or even probable that they have recordings that suddenly pops up from nowhere, recordings of ex-slaves, but they can't find the original footage of the moon landings? Because see, today they got the technology to actually look at that footage to see if that stuff is authentic. And they know if people looked at it, they're gonna realize that the moon landings, it never happened. These people lie about everything, man. They are into propaganda. They control by way of propaganda. They know that they tell a big enough lie, you're gonna have no choice but to believe, because you're gonna sit there and question, why would they lie about it? Just like you're doing now with the slavery thing. Why would they lie about it? Why not? I mean, I can give you one reason why they would lie about it. They want the land. If they can remove us from our proper claim to the indigenous status, that is a legal status. So you got to understand this. Claiming to be an African descendant gives you no legal standing here in America. But claiming to be an indigenous American that was here before the Europeans came give you legal claim, legal status to America. They want to remove you from that legal claim. Everybody know these Mongoloids are not from here. They're not worried about them. But you never explain how you call them Native Americans, but they got put on reservations. Dusty reservations where nothing grows. But all the farmland was owned by blacks. Up until recently. They have been constantly using the system to take it from us through one banking scam, one loan scam, policies, all kinds of stuff. They've been taking it from us. You gotta have X amount of cows on it for it to be tax exempt, and then you gotta pay for this, then you gotta have this legal, then you gotta have, you know what I'm saying? They basically legislated our lands away from us legally. But the question y'all never ask is, how do we end up with the lands? How did all of our great-grandparents have all this land? Y'all never asked that. Even the crazy show right now, the Bass Reeves show, right? The Lone Ranger. Show you how silly this is. Bass is supposed to be a slave, but yet he's fighting in a war. You know what I'm saying? And he's fighting against the North because they can't explain why he was a Confederate soldier. Actually, there were a lot of black Confederate soldiers. This stuff really wasn't, the narrative they give you wasn't really happening like that. Slave is a very loosely used term. Chattel slavery did not exist. But an economic slavery, similar to the one that we live under today, yes, it existed. Beholding people to slave contracts where they gotta work for you for 8-9 years for little or nothing. Yeah, that kind of stuff existed. But the point is, there were a lot of blacks that fought for the Confederacy. But you never hear that. The only reason why you know this because the Bass Reeves story, then finally, it started coming out and they couldn't hide it no longer. So to explain how he spoke Cherokee or was it Seminole, you know what I'm saying? They made it seem like he escaped from slavery, went down in Seminole territory and picked up the language and lived there. Truth is, the blacks were the Seminoles, man. Bass was a Seminole. He was never a slave. He was a Seminole. That was his people. And the crazy thing, this is the point I'm about to get to. His wife that he left when he escaped from slave, after he killed his slave master and left. His wife stayed there. They show Bass go back to that plantation looking for his wife, and the wife of the man he killed, she's still there. She's acting like her and Bass are the best of friends. She didn't say this whole thing don't make sense. She's acting like they buddy, like Bass is like he was a child that went off somewhere and came home to visit. You know what I'm saying? She acting like they're the best of friends. But she tells her that Bass' wife has a place, I think, in Arkansas. Don't quote me on that, right? She moved and she has her own place. So Bass tracks down his wife. He goes to the town where she lives at. She has a house on a farm. Now, how did this lady walk out of being a slave, end up with a house on a farm? Oh man, well, you know, the government gave it to him. They gave him 40 acres in the middle. You niggas got a convenient answer for everything. Unless you could show where somebody deeded her that house, where the government deeded her that land, you don't know if that's how it went down. I don't believe none of that happened, by the way, but they trying to explain how he ended up on that land. That's what they're trying to explain, how he ended up there in that situation, how he spoke Seminole Indian and I think another Indian language, how he spoke these languages. They're trying to backtrack and explain all of these things. They're trying to explain how he fought for the Confederacy. They're trying to backtrack and explain all of these things. Convenient answers. Okay, but give me convenient answers as to how in the hell did NASA lose all of the original footage of the most spectacular human feat in human history? How did they lose that? Explain that. Give me a convenient answer for that. None of the buildings burned down, no tornadoes hit nothing, no catastrophes happened. Give me a convenient answer as to how they did that. How did they lose that footage? They got all these convenient answers. They find some shackles in the water and they tell you this must have belonged to a slave ship. Do y'all know there's shackles on every ship? There is a brig on every ship. They gotta have a brig on every ship, because if you have a dissident, where you gonna put him? You lock him up, which means you got shackles, which means you got somewhere with a cage, some bars on it. There's a brig on every ship. But they find a pair of handcuffs and say, this came from a slave ship. That's the convenience of the answers they give. This family in Virginia recently, right? But that was last year, the year before last. They purchased a home and find out that the home was actually once owned by their ancestors. This is what really happened. The home was owned by their ancestors. They just repurchased a home that was already their home. But they told them that your ancestors were slaves on this land. That's the convenient story they told them. So they asking the people, and some of them people are twice as, like older than me. Some of them people like my mom's age, right, in this family. And they asking them, well, did anybody in your family ever mention being slaves? And they was like, we never heard anything about being slaves nowhere. We were never told it. All right, maybe because they was embarrassed. A convenient answer. How are they embarrassed when they believe that every one of us came from slaves? How is it embarrassing when this is the prevailing belief that we all have? That we've become that we have become comfortable with. How is it embarrassing? Most of you dudes are so proud of that slave narrative, it has become your identity. How is it embarrassing? Y'all want to be from Africa? Y'all gonna take these fake DNA tests and all kinds of other stuff? Oh man, I'm from such and such, and oh man, my people, silliness, man. Y'all are dumb. So when you ask me to be humble, I haven't even come out the cage yet. Because truthfully, y'all are an insult to intelligence. How y'all are willing to believe anything and everything these people say, and even worse, how y'all will also come up with your own convenient answers in your own mind. Last time I was back home, right? Well, not the last time, but the time before last, I was back home, right? Happened to be home during they had a Lake Pontchartrain festival going on, right? I just happened to be home. I didn't know what was going on. I just happened to be home when it's going on. So me and my wife, we shoot down there, you know what I'm saying? Because, all this in the Ninth Ward where I'm from anyway, you know what I'm saying? So we shoot down there to the Pontchartrain festival, you know what I'm saying? And there's this brother handing out flyers about the biggest slave uprising in Louisiana. Now, you from here. You know damn well we Indians. We still got our Indian culture. Some people still speak the Indian language. Y'all seen Treme? Y'all seen Treme? This is not faking. This is not something we got from somebody. This is our culture. Do y'all not know that they dress like Indians all over black world? I said that right, all over the black world. I mean Central, South America, the Caribbean, all the islands, over there Madagascar, all through Africa. Everywhere we are for our festivals, we dress like Indians. Do you know the only Mongoloids that they claim dress like Indians are the ones here? But you want us to believe that we got this culture from them, when they're the only ones, and they don't even do it, right? They really don't do it. It's said that they do it, but they really don't do it. The ones in Canada do it a little bit more. But the only Mongoloids that do this are over here in the Americas. But we do this everywhere. But we got that culture from them, right? Anyway, you from Louisiana, you know damn well, man, we Indians. But you handing out a pamphlet about the biggest slave uprising in Louisiana. So I'll read the pamphlet. And he's lecturing, right? He's out there talking about it, right? In front of some people. And he said that the slave uprising was started over a dispute over wages. I'm saying, well, hold on. So it was a labor dispute or slave uprising, because it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And the crazy thing is, these are dudes that go to college. These are the Negroes that go to college, because this is where they get indoctrinated at. This is where they get spoon-fed all of this nonsense in university. And when they come out of university, we see them as being the proper authorities on these things, and we just kowtow to them and say, okay, we listen to whatever they say. So they get indoctrinated and they influence the unindoctrinated. So right there, the white man has 85-90% of us. All you have left is the 5%. So when you tell me to be humble, man, you gotta understand, this is silliness to me, man. Why y'all believe this stuff? If you're reading the words right that said that it happened over a labor dispute over wages, then how in the hell do you get to a slave uprising? You are literally reading, it's in your pamphlet that this was a wage dispute, over working pay and conditions, right? That turned bloody and violent. You're reading that, but you wants to make it about slavery. We messed up, man. We messed up. And this is why to that brother that subscribed and then unsubscribed to the channel, man, bye, bro. He gonna leave a message talking about I am clashing with his critical thinking. Get your, oh boy, soft powder puff. Look, I don't want to deal with you kind of dudes. Critical thinking and critical thinking never clash. Even if they don't come to the same conclusions, both of them can hear the other side out, and understand where the other side is coming from. Even if they personally do not reach the same conclusions. That is true critical thinking. No, you Negroes just want to be slaves. What? That's your problem. And Brother Kush is attacking that narrative. And I really don't know why y'all want to be slaves, because it's not like y'all gonna guilt these people into doing nothing for you. It's not like they're gonna give you anything. They're gonna feel sorry for you. I really don't know what your end game is, because you're not gonna get anything out of it. So I don't get it. It's really a failed strategy. Whatever you're trying to get out of this whole thing about wanting to be a slave, I don't know what you think you'll get out of it, because you ain't gonna get it. You're not gonna get it. So you might want to just wake up one day and say, you know what? Forget about trying to be a slave. I think today I want to be a man. And rise up and come join the Alpha. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Till next time, I'm out of here. Brother Kush, aka the Black Alpha. Salam.